Welcome to the Snap Audition podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and leave a 5-star review.
And check out the Snap Audition platform at snapaudition.com.
In this episode, we continue our discussion with Juli Nickel. Juli works with prospective college music majors to help them get through the audition process. Check out her coaching service at julinickelconsulting.com. And also check out part 1.
Like I was trying to get to is you're just going and attending the classes and even getting a good grades not going to cut it. Like if to make the most of it, you need to really finish a music degree with a chance to be a professional musician.
Yes.
There's a certain approach to the degree, to the experience that you have to take.
Yes. And it's different than other degrees in that way, except music education, you can end up with an ed degree and
get a job.
To teach.
Right.
Some people are just getting an ed degree these days to have it as a backup. That's a very common thing now. So some people will double major in performance and
that's a lot of work.
It is, but I tend to tell people add on at least a semester. Because college is not like high school where you're with your same people, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. College is, you need to decide your program. And then you're looking at this program and saying, how can I get the most out of it? So I'm going to go to these classes. I'm going to, attend all the extra events that are in my department. I'm going to start figuring out the area. If I want to freelance, I would say, most people don't freelance their freshman and sophomore years of a performance degree, but some people do start getting small jobs or, playing at a church when they need music.
Yeah.
How am I going to start learning from that so that I'm becoming a professional and understand? And it's amazing what people don't understand about the freelancing side. Now, schools are getting better at teaching that, right? I taught.
Yeah, I've noticed some of the programs I was looking at the curriculum, they have extra classes on entrepreneurship or whatever.
Yes.
That is, I never saw back in the 90s,
No.
Yeah.
It's so great now because you can create a career. Even what I'm doing now is part of a multi-layered career. I could stay just teaching flute,
right,
and I could stay doing my freelancing,
right,
but I just felt like, one, I wanted to do more. And then every time I looked at different jobs or what I wanted to do, it always came back to, I really like working with this age group, and I really like the details in the organization, and I like to help these people with this process. I feel really passionate that I'm at a stage of my life when that other people's success through this journey is really important to me.
Yes. You've learned, I'm an entrepreneur, and so I love the idea of multiple streams of money coming in.
Yeah.
Because you might, as an entrepreneur, you start a business and it might take years before you make any money from it. And then, but I have to have, so I love that discussion. But one fact about the music industry or arts in general is there is money in it. There's a lot of money in the music industry. It's just, where is it going to? And the people it's going to are not necessarily, or usually not necessarily the people on stage playing something. One of the problems I had when I went to college was I only had this idea of it's all or nothing. Like I made it,
Yes.
I auditioned at the New School in 99, got a scholarship, but it wasn't big enough and I never went there. But I didn't know I could ask for more money.
I was just going to say, did you ask for more money?
I didn't know. They had a music theory test too. But I had a flight that left. I remember it was after my audition and I was like, oh, I didn't know there was a music theory test.
Right.
So that's all in the past, but regardless, I always thought of it as like, because my family never knew any of this, that I either was going to be a performer and have records and have a touring career and all that, or I was going to have to fall back on something else. But now I think of it as, it actually, maybe it would have taken 10, 20 years to get to that. But I could have had another stream of money coming in from another source of income, teaching lessons or doing something that wasn't just performing,
Oh yeah. And there's so many options. So I had a student in my career skills class who's a computer science major, but he wants to be a DJ. And
Yeah.
it was really impressive what he'd already done. But it's like, wait a minute, I think I want to perform all the time, but what can I do in the meantime? Where's my like super gift? What could I give and do? Well, I'm also trying to do this other thing. And often people find
Yeah.
out that they stick with this other, they
Yeah.
started something and it's really great. That's obviously at the end of the college career, but you want to prep people as they're going into college to just keep their eyes open, watch for all doors that open. So like we talked about jobs, right? I talk to my students often like, if you can have a job, if you have to have a job, one, minimal hours. Two, have the job around the business you're in. Like, my daughter was an
Yeah.
usher
Ideally.
for a
Yeah.
theater. So she got to see all the performances.
Yeah. And you see what happens behind the scenes kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're kind
Yeah.
of working your education at the
Yeah.
same time. My husband talks about he worked at Pizzeria Uno in Boston,
Oh,
and
that's a great place. Yeah.
yeah, it did not though. It did
Yeah.
hurt his freshman year of practicing.
Oh, it
It was
did.
it was
Yeah.
too much. So yeah,
Yeah. Restaurants, being a waiter, working in a restaurant, that's hard work. So
it's hard.
it's, yeah.
Exactly.
And then you don't want to go home and practice French horn, after you've smelled like
Mm-mm.
pizza. And
But if
no,
you get paid less, but you sit at a front desk and you're not tired and you were able to
right.
complete some homework, it's worth it.
Well, and this goes to this is an equation too, because you're
Yeah.
saying, okay, I got into three schools, but this one, I'm going to have to work part-time 20 hours a week to make it work.
Yeah.
But then this one, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something you really have to weigh. So,
You have to weigh it and you have to weigh, the teacher, the program, the location. Like for each person, the list of, let's say we're shuffling a deck of cards, location is one,
yes.
money, every single thing is a deck of cards. For every single
Hmm.
person, the top of the deck is a different card.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what the importance level is to them. And that may change through their audition year. So
Hmm.
figuring out what's most important, what's going to make them feel really great about when they get to the year and they make an acceptance to a school, they're going to feel like, I'm ready to go. I'm comfortable with this choice. I know it's good for me. There's all this label where people feel they must have the label of a great school. Now, I may not be going to the New England Conservatory of Music, but this program I'm going to,
Yeah.
I am going to do well there. I feel great about it.
Yeah.
And, it's learning to get over that. What it's learning to know your situation
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make it work for you. That's what I want for everybody.
I could see where people sign up to have you help them with your consulting, with your coaching. You can give people confidence because you've been there. You can give
Yes.
students confidence in when they say, "I'm going to go to this school that's closer to home because I want to be closer to home," or they give me a bigger scholarship or whatever. You can say, "Oh yeah, that's completely fine because I could see you doing boom, 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 boom," instead of just being
Yep.
out there and guessing whether or not that's a good idea. And you're the neutral party. You're not the school. You're the neutral party.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I can just give a lot of insight into each part. I mean, it sounds so
Yeah.
simple. When you look at it, I see why parents think they can handle it. Oh, we'll just do applications. We'll do this, we'll do. But each pod during the year has so many offshoots of things you're going to learn and be handling. It's impossible to even explain how complicated the year is and how many things are personal to you making
Right.
this choice. So,
Well, and it's like you said, money. You're not going to graduate with a degree if in performance, and if you're not in music education, you're not going to graduate and just fall into a job like
right,
some of the nursing or something.
right.
That's just a reality you have to face. I mean,
Yeah.
you do it because you love it, and I always have the view like you don't play music for the money. You do it because you love it, but then you find ways to get paid for it. but
Right.
Which include maybe playing some gigs you don't love playing because I need the money, right?
Yeah, and I had a
Yeah.
student who would not play a gig that didn't pay. And I was
Hmm.
like, this does not make sense. You
Hmm.
need to, there are some times when you accept a free gig because you're going to meet people, You're going to
Yeah.
figure out what it's like, and actually you'll
Hmm.
get yourself out of the practice room, because in the practice room, no one's finding you.
No,
Now,
exactly.
I mean that everyone should play free gigs. No, not at all. But when that's all you have as a student, and
Yeah, well, especially in the classical, because in jazz we have jam sessions. So
yeah,
you're in New York, go down to Smalls or these other places that have jam sessions every night and stay there till 3 a.m. and then miss your classes in the morning. But
yeah.
having a place to play and meet people is critical to music. So
And that's what classical musicians could do better. This is kind of getting off. Beatboxing flute guy, Greg Patillo.
so
So Greg says, to people, the classical people, hey, the jazz
mm,
people are just getting together and do jam sessions. You're here at the school around each other. So just get your instruments and go do stuff, go play in the lobby and make a performance so that every performance is not such a big deal.
how has things changed since you and I were in it decades ago? Decades ago, how have things changed to now? What does it look like now versus 20, 30 years ago?
There, and I've said things have changed too, but I just listened
Yeah,
to you say a little while ago, you didn't know how to ask for more money and this kind of stuff.
yeah,
And when I talk to my friends who are in music and I
mm,
talk to students, they're still saying the same things. Like, I don't know how to do this part. So there still is this, what's the
that hasn't changed. Yeah,
yeah, I think things have gotten a little more complicated in that when I auditioned for schools, there were no pre-screens. Now there's a pre-screen for many schools, not all. So now there's another
yeah,
hurdle to jump, right? And then the amount of student loans you can take out in your student's name has changed. And I'm always watching the landscape of the loans and
hmm,
and and finances. I'm always looking for that. And I'm
right,
always looking for outside loans, outside scholarships for people.
right,
So that this, I think education is more expensive, or it's
yeah,
becoming more, it's just out there in the world that this is too much. So people are looking at education differently. Where I
because
think,
of the student debt loan debt
yeah,
crisis and all this.
well,
Yeah,
our generation, so say I have a kid in college, and then what if my parents needed help too? We're getting sandwiched because we're the ones who have to take out the loans.
yes,
So there's no, all the student loan forgiveness talk and all that, there's no student loan forgiveness for whatever your parents take out. So it's just the ones that are in the student name. So those three factors have changed.
yeah,
So there's a little more intensity. And then there's also parents want to know more. We kind of, when there was that 80s mentality, like, okay, you're off to college, bye. And
yes.
now they want to know more, like, what are you really getting out of the school? So there's
Yeah.
more
Do you think that's
involvement.
because so many people, I mean, I have friends in their 40s like me that graduated or didn't graduate and have all these student loans they've been paying forever. So now when it comes to their kids, they're like, I'm not sure if you should do what I did
Right.
because,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's part of what I do is facilitate those discussions. Like, let's talk about this.
right.
Where's the comfort level for everybody? We have to agree on that before you can make a college list. I'm talking with my son who's a regular major, although he might double major with a music because he
Yeah.
might get more money to be a double major. So, but he's over the past few weeks come around to be like, yeah, I don't want any debt for school.
Hmm.
Because I've been telling him, for engineering, University of Michigan only gives 25,000. That leaves an additional 50,000, 200,000 by the time you graduate. And that's
Yeah.
not with the money going up. And he's like,
That's, yeah.
I don't like that. Maybe I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'll consider a school like that for grad school. So I think there's more conversations happening, but some people don't know how to start having the conversation and getting the direction going.
Yes.
This is what I do all the time for years and years. And then my students would come to me and be like, I'm auditioning for grad school. And I would be
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I don't have all this time I need to give them in order for them to have the best grad school auditions.
Yes. Because you're there to teach them flute. And
I'm
yeah.
there. I would give extra time,
Yeah.
but it was on them to handle so much of the complexity, the organization. And the better organized they were, the more money they got, the better they liked their program. So, but I didn't have that special one-on-one time with them, even though I did give extra time, but your teachers could only give so much extra time. They're doing
Well,
it.
getting advice from people is so tricky. One thing about the music industry too is there's no shortage of people that want to give you advice about how you're, number one, you're supposed to play this way. Number two, you're supposed to look this way and show up and do this and do that. And then there's the old timer musician people who are, they want to tell the younger people. But then you, as a young person, I think you really have to realize not everybody's advice is good advice.
Well, yeah.
Because
I mean,
I remember my teachers in high school that are not, they may have been great teachers of music, but they didn't know anything about finance, or
right.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing is you recommend what you know. So
Yeah.
a private lesson teacher may not be spending a lot of time knowing what's current. Somebody could get a full ride for their master's for being a teaching assistant. Those positions do exist. Or is a student of color using the Sphinx organization? Are they finding the scholarships that are out there? And so a private lesson teacher, they're busy thinking of how to teach you, and they want you to win that competition and all that. But if they haven't been in the college game for 20 years, it's changed.
Yes.
So there's more options for degrees. Like there's a 5-year degree at my school where in performance and what do you call it? Music administration.
Did they teach you, is it more like business type classes or?
Yeah, they will be interesting to organizations that are hiring, the behind the scenes at the NSO or the Dallas Symphony or whatever, the music administration. You have experience there now. Yeah. So let's say you want an orchestral job, but you don't win one when you're in your degree program, or you go into your master's, you still haven't won one.
Right.
What you're going to have to earn money. So you can do work as you can be a waiter, you can try to teach private lessons, you can build websites. I've had students do that. You can, but I happen to have this master's in music administration, and this job keeps me around musicians.
Right.
And I can, maybe I'll move up and around, or I've actually had people that find their true love that way, actually.
Really?
So
true love or true love? True love romantically or true love?
True love in the I'm going to get out of bed today and enjoy this. And they're like,
yes.
But they put some insurance on their degree by doing the 5-year program.
Yes. Well, and one thing I've realized is along lines with that is in the arts, you have the art, which is often not something that's monetizable. You play the flute and you create art, like whether you're playing written music, you're writing it, you get people together, and you might not always find people to pay you to do that, but there's the show, I call it the show business part, where you monetize this, and they're two different things. And I think we think of a pop artist as only being the show business side.
Yeah.
But that's not really true. They're usually artists that wanted the fame. But in college, or at a conservatory of music, my guess would be you're focusing mostly on the art part of it. Like I'm building my technical ability to play, even I'm building how good it sounds and all these things. Yes. But that doesn't always translate to the show business part where I make a living doing it. So,
yes. And that's where schools, like I said, are getting a little better with those career skills classes and more realistic. Yes. Like you are going to have to work very hard to support yourself. Like it is work. And my thing I say probably too much to people is you have to be your own secretary. You have to take time out of your day. And that's what I start to teach people during that senior year is how to be your own secretary, administrative assistant, whatever you want to call yourself.
Yes.
Sit down and work for yourself. Get on that computer or whatever it is and handle the task that's in front of you so that you can make the art.
Yes.
If you're the person that's just in the practice of making art, no one's finding you there.
Yeah. And you're not, I ask young people too, like I've asked them, do you want to, okay, you want to play music? And I said, well, do you want to play music and play with the other great musicians, or do you want to play, or do you want to perform music in front of people? Is it enough for you just to play with them, in a rehearsal space, or do you have that passion to play in front of people?
And they may not know that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, as I keep mentioning, that so many of my college graduates have ended up where they didn't think they'd end up. And that's
Yes.
the important thing to realize about a college degree too, is I think a lot of people and parents sometimes feel, okay, my kid wants to major in performance. This is a disaster, right? So
Yeah.
talk them out of it. And
Yeah.
then you say, well, they're getting a college degree.
Uh-huh.
So it's not the end of the world. Like they can take that degree and they are hireable in other fields should they choose to change. And you can get a master's, go on for a
Hmm.
master's with a degree in performance in a totally different field. Now, there are certain limitations. Like if you want to be a doctor,
Yes,
you have
it's
to go a
good.
certain way.
Yeah.
You have to have certain math classes, which I gleefully got rid of all my math classes. Oh, no more
That's why
math.
you went to the New England Conservatory. That's
Yeah,
why.
yeah, no
See,
more
I was
math.
stuck at North Texas. I still had to do algebra and struggle through it.
I don't know why I was there for 2 years, but I don't know what I did. I don't know if I skipped it or I passed out of it. I might have passed out of it.
Right.
But I've seen people do amazing things and gotten a degree in music performance. I think people that are really invested in music have some amazing traits about them that make them very hireable. If you don't
Independent,
know
driven
what,
person. Yeah.
right, let's say you don't know what you want to do, or you want to be in music, and that's what your kid wants to do, or you're the student and you want to do it. I see a lot of regret in my adult studio from people who didn't try the music degree. So there's
Yeah.
something to be said for this is college. It's not defining everything about who you're going to be.
Yes.
So if you're passionate and you need to start a degree this way, you should do it. But we need to be more organized and have our eyes open and learn how to be our own secretary.
One last question I had was, what's the mentality? How should you think about how they evaluate you and making sure that you're prepared for that? Knowing that they don't have the whole picture of you, they only have the picture of the audition.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That is, when you've been in the business long enough as a teacher too, you can tell a lot in a very short amount of time. Students think we can't, but there's two aspects to that too. Like when you're talking about the elite colleges and students competing for those very top spots, these are students that are really, really, like I said, already having indications of success. It does not mean that they will end up with a job like they think
Yeah.
they do. Right.
Yeah.
But those auditions are different than schools on different levels. Like there are a lot of schools that accept
Uh-huh.
students that play not as well, but they think I see potential from this person. This person decided maybe they walk into a school and they
Hmm.
decided there's freshman, junior or senior year, they're even going to major in music and they haven't had much experience. That doesn't mean they actually won't make it in music, but are they teachable?
Yeah.
So there are some schools that will look a little harder, and this comes into taking perspective lessons during your audition year. This person actually could grow into this, and this is the right school for them to do it at. But if that person comes and says, I want to audition at Indiana, and they haven't had any experience, that might be a waste of your money and time. And you're rushing. You're comparing yourself to people that have done 10 years of prep. They've been in youth orchestras and they've just always been involved and you're going up to audition against them.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
not a good use of your time. You are equally as passionate, but you're starting later. So you need a school
Yeah.
that can evaluate you on where you are. So that's where
Right.
the creating of the list is super important because who wants to spend thousands and thousands
Right.
on the auditioning for the wrong places? So I guess that the question is not easily answerable, like what to
It,
expect. But there is another component there, which is,
yeah.
audition tactics. Like how do you best prepare yourself for an audition? And
Right.
that's, I had couple master classes on that last year, just on
Oh, right. So go to Juli
little,
Nickel Consulting.com, which is
yeah,
Juli
yeah,
Nickel Nickel.com,
yeah,
consulting.com. Right.
yeah.
So you have master classes on the actual process of getting in the headspace and doing the audition. Yeah.
Yeah, some people never think about it till they show up and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm here." So that's part of it.
Yeah.
Also, they
So
think, yeah.
there's more to it than just preparing the music. It's how to deal with that scenario where people are judging you, right?
Well, yeah, and if nobody talks to them about how the audition works, it can be a little jolting. Like, um,
Hmm.
they're going to cut you off. And that's not a bad thing. They're going to hear part of a piece and they're going to say, "Okay, let's hear this next piece."
Yeah.
And some people are prepared for that, and other people are think that's a bad thing. But there's not time to hear your whole concerto and your whole this and
Uh-huh.
also they might jump around. And some people are never started in the middle of their piece,
Wow. Yeah. Because
you
it's
know.
weird. I mean, you would never do that in a performance. So,
Right. But
yeah.
auditions are performances. And
Yeah.
so, like when I have my students at school, I try to get them to do every different type of audition. But how could you walk in the room for this one versus an audition where you walk in the room and they can't see you versus an audition where, a concerto competition where they're looking to see if you've really got that stage presence. That's important. You can't just be a
Hmm.
great player, but be like, they're not looking for
True.
that,
True.
you know? So every audition you're presented as a music major and heading into school has this different setup you have to bring. So you have to invest some time into thinking about what
So,
the
as
audition is about.
with your coaching, is that something you're helping with people with the actual audition
Yeah.
prep itself? That's great.
So sometimes if
Yeah.
it's an organization, they'll ask for a
Yeah.
separate event just talking about the audition,
Yeah.
itself, or they want a discussion more about finances or something like that. But yes, if someone does not have the private lesson teacher coaching them, talking
Yeah.
about the audition, if that is definitely a topic that is covered.
Cool.
So I work hand in like whatever team they have, I become another member of the team. So some people have
Yeah.
a band director that's great, a private lesson teacher that's great, even parents that are willing to run out and do all this, but they just want a system set up to not miss anything. And some
Yeah.
people are missing one of those team members and need more.
Because, like you said, in the theater space or even other college degrees, people are getting coaching.
They
Why are we not doing this in our music space?
I think it's
It's
the musician mindset. The
we're
musician
cheap, maybe.
mindset is, well,
Yeah.
no, I think they're just like, we can do it all. We're always, we don't, we can figure it
Hmm.
out. But we're making an investment in school too. And like people get SAT courses, they'll pay $1,000 for a
That's
summer
true. Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going into music degree, your investment's better probably with me than with your SAT course.
Yeah. Of
They don't really
course.
care about so you'll spend all this
Yeah.
money on so many things, but this is one area where people are like, no, I can do it alone. And I
Right.
can't figure out quite why.
This is, I hopefully will take off for you and you'll start a trend, like I said, in all kinds of different types of people in different subgenres of music. And we'll be able to help people navigate this world because the fact is, even though 4 years is a short amount of time, it can, if you take out the wrong loans or in the wrong place, it can stay with you for a long time. It's been great talking to you. Like I said, everybody can go over to Juli Nickel Consulting.com. I'll put it in the notes there. It's
Yeah.
Juli
And I put a
Nickel.
lot of stuff on Instagram on my account there.
Yeah, follow on Instagram. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.